On air, online, and on the go. This is 7 and 4 News at 6. Get connected.
He took her body to a wooded area and actually dropped it off.
The search for a missing mother in Isabella County has taken a tragic and deadly turn, as detectives now say she was murdered. Good evening. I'm Ariel Berlin. Mark will be joining us live in a few moments from our Red Cross Hurricane Sandy Relief phone bank. But first, we begin tonight with a developing story out of Isabella County. Rebecca Gay of Mount Pleasant went missing early yesterday morning. The 24-year-old's car was found parked behind the Barn Door, a bar near her home on M20. Today, the Isabella County Sheriff's Office announced that they have arrested a man for murdering her. The suspect is John White, a 55-year-old from Mount Pleasant. The sheriff says it was a gruesome murder.
He ended up hitting her over the head several times with a rubber mallet. Once she fell to the floor, he actually ended up putting a large zip tie around her neck and strangled her.
Authorities say Rebecca's 3-year-old son was home during the murder. White is charged with open murder and premeditated first-degree homicide. He faces life in prison.
You just got to believe in tomorrow, and you know, hopefully everybody can rebuild.
The massive cleanup effort continues tonight on the East Coast as families are now getting a true understanding of the level of devastation. At least 76 people have died. Millions are still without power, food, and safe drinking water. Mark joins us now live at our Hurricane Disaster Relief phone bank. And Mark, we want to give our viewers a way to help bring relief to the East Coast, so explain how this works.
Absolutely. You know, we've all been seeing those images over the last several days coming from the eastern seaboard, and you just feel this need, this desire to get out there and make a difference. Well, we've teamed up with the American Red Cross, and viewers just like you are doing that. You're making a difference by picking up the phone and making a donation. Joining me now is Kevin Bavers from the American Red Cross. And Kevin, you've been here since 5 o'clock this afternoon. Phones have been ringing nonstop.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've had well over 100 people that have called in so far and raised over $5,000 in just an hour, so it's fantastic.
That is incredible. $5,000 from viewers just like you over the past hour. Now, where will this money go? What kind of difference will this make?
This is going to go to help along the East Coast for Hurricane Sandy relief, helping with sheltering, providing food, water, mobile feeding, cleanup kits, so when people get back into their homes, they can clean up the mess and try to resume their normal way of life. So a lot of on-the-ground efforts right along the East Coast.
Now, the Red Cross from Northwest Michigan is not only going to help get this money out there, but you guys have also sent volunteers to be on the ground and to put that money to good use.
Yeah, all along the West Michigan side, we've sent about close to 70 volunteers, but from our local chapter, we've already sent 8 volunteers just the past 4 days. So
that is incredible. How important is it to have the volunteers and also have the resources, the funding to make the difference?
It's huge. We not only need the money to make sure that we have the resources available when the time happens, but we need volunteers so that we can send them to the affected areas. And they need to be trained ahead of time. So it's important that people take the training like we're going to start having on Monday evening. A good opportunity to get trained so that when the disaster happens, you're ready and able to go out.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, thanks so much. We're going to let you get back to answering phones. Phones are ringing nonstop. If you are trying to get through the number that we're running across the bottom of your screen and you can't, please keep trying. We will be here to take your calls tonight. Ariel, back to you.
All right, thanks, Mark. And 7 and 4 News has also teamed up with local businesses to collect and deliver bottled water to hurricane victims. Today, we invited our viewers to drop off cases of water at Cherry Capital Cadillac in Traverse City, and people came out in droves. 7 and 4's Nathan Edwards is live at the dealership right now. And Nathan, how's the drive going?
And we're beginning to wrap things up here. As you can tell, there are already thousands of bottles in this truck alone. We actually had so many, we had to get another truck just to take them down to the East Coast. I want to thank everybody who donated water today. And I'd also like to thank a couple of our sponsors. First off, thank you to Cherry Capital Cadillac and Subaru, who gave us a location to have this drive. Thank you to Goodwill for donating this truck, and Elmer's, who is donating the second truck. And thank you to Schmuck Oil, who donated the gas to help get us there. And then also, I'd like to thank the driver from Beta, Jim Giles, who will be driving with me down to the East Coast. And then also a special thank you to Charlevoix Sheriff Dan Schneider, who helped us, who brought in 66 bottles from Charlevoix County's employees. Yeah, you know, again, a big thank you to everybody who helped out today. Reporting live in Traverse City, Nathan Edwards, 7 and 4 News.
All right, thanks, Nathan. And one group that went the extra mile today, students at Glen Lake High School. Over 3,000 bottles were donated by students from the life skills class at Glen Lake. The students also encouraged their classmates to donate spare change for the hurricane relief efforts. In all, they dropped off 2 van loads of water.
Owners of a Sheboygan County business are assessing the damage tonight after much of their operation was destroyed by fire. This fire started around 12:30 this morning at Lofgren Enterprises on North Straits Highway. It's a used auto dealership, primarily sells motorcycles, ATVs, and other vehicles. As you can see, about half the building was completely destroyed. Several vehicles and tractors were also lost. One firefighter received a minor injury when he cut his hand. No word yet on a possible cause.
Time for tonight's Facebook story of the day. Businesses are banding together to raise money for multiple area nonprofits. This Saturday throughout downtown Traverse City, almost 60 stores will be participating in Shop Your Community Day. 15% of every sale will be donated to one of 59 nonprofits of your choice, including Munson Hospice, the City Opera House, and Father Fred. Organizers say this is their biggest year yet. If you're headed out this Saturday, stores with balloons out front are the participating locations. Coming up, it's one of life's many difficult questions. Why are men and women so different?
Tonight in a special report, 7 and 4 News takes a look at the differences between the sexes. That's later right here on 7 and 4 News at 6.
It won't be much, but we do have a chance of some more rain and snow showers around the region tonight and into tomorrow. We'll take a close look at the radar. And a close look at your weekend forecast, too. That's coming up in a few minutes. Here's the Fish and Game Report.
Now, your 7 and 4 Storm Team Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mark Watkins.
I saw a little bit of blue sky for a brief period today around the region. And on these pictures here, this is from Studio Cam above Traverse City. You can see the sun breaking through at times, but still lots of clouds, low clouds. And some of these clouds have produced a little light rain, a little light snow over the past few hours. I'll show you the radar in just a minute. Highs over the next several days look like they're going to stay in the 40s, even with some sunshine coming through the clouds at times through the weekend. It's going to stay pretty chilly. Normal highs, typical highs this time of the year are going to be around 50, so we're going to be below normal all the way into next week, even with a bit of sunshine coming through. Here's UpNorthLive radar over the past 3 hours. Spotty rain, and in with this rain, a little bit of light snow in spots. There are no advisories, watches, or warnings, but overnight tomorrow, too, you might see a spot or two of rain or a spot or two of snow. Wide of you, real quick like, show you the center point of what's left over from that hurricane. Right in here is Sandy. Sandy's still creating a large cloud shield over eastern Canada, and of course we've been on the western edge of it, and we're still getting just a little light precipitation because of the flow. It's not Sandy per se, but it's the flow coming out of the north. It's creating a little lake effect rain and snow showers for us, and that'll be the case tonight and tomorrow. Scattered light snow and rain. You can see the stormcast timestamp into Friday, and not a whole lot, but Friday evening a spot or two left behind. Saturday, very, very little, just a couple of spots. And once we get to Sunday, I think the chance of precipitation is very, very small. Right now, temperatures 30s and 40s, 36 at Newberry, 42 at Alpena, 40 degrees the current temperature in the Ludington area. Obviously, chilly has been all day, and it looks like it's going to stay chilly. The winds are beginning to come down, beginning to cooperate. Over the past hour, they've gusted up to 20, 25, 22, 28 miles per hour in a few spots. Tomorrow, we'll see a few gusts to 20 out of the north and northwest. It'll be a light wind on Saturday. Again, out of the north, that cold wind is going to be keeping us chilly in the day and downright cold at night. Overnight tonight, 20s and 30s for overnight lows, 29 in Sault Ste. Marie. Highs tomorrow, mostly 40s, but I don't think it's going to be able to get out of the 30s in a lot of places in the Upper Peninsula. It'll drop to 36 in Bel Air and 33 in Rogers City tonight, 29 in Atlanta. Highs tomorrow, upper 30s and low 40s around the northern lower, 38 at Gaylord. And the southern part of the 74 viewing area, 30s tonight, 32 at Houghton Lake, 33 at Cadillac. Highs tomorrow, low to mid 40s all across the area. And again, maybe just some light scattered rain or snow showers tonight and tomorrow. Saturday, mostly sunny, but still chilly. Sunday, a bit cloudy at times, and 40s will be the high. Morning temperatures, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday mornings will average 20s. So very, very cold 3 nights in a row. Remember this, about 10 days ago, I showed you the spaghetti models. This is an accumulation of all the computer models indicating where Sandy might have gone. This is when Sandy was still in the Bahamas. And remember we talked about the most likely scenario was that one right there. Went on shore in New Jersey, cut across Pennsylvania, And I think that particular computer model is very dependable, always has been, and that's my favorite, and that's my story, and I'm sticking
to it.
That's right, because it did very, very much what we thought it would do, at least the center point. Yeah. But of course, Sandy covered hundreds of miles. This is an enormous storm, but that was the center line for the center part of the storm. Okay?
Thanks, Mark. All right, well, still ahead, does it ever seem like you and your significant other are from different planets?
What are you looking at me for? Coming up, we sit down with the relationship expert to try and answer the question, why are men and women so different? That's next. You're watching 7 and 4 News at 6. Well, we've all heard the famous saying, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The differences between the sexes, of course, goes back as long as the debate does.
And the question is, why are we so different, and are there any solutions to living in harmony? 7 and 4's Melissa Smith has some reasons behind why men and women communicate so differently.
The fundamental differences between men and women goes back to the caveman days, when men were the hunters and women the gatherers. Now, centuries later, we're still just as different and may never really see eye to eye.
I think that women are more sensitive and like to have conversation and communicate.
And men are just, you know, they got this macho image that we seem to have to uphold, you know.
I can usually tell by the look on his face whether he understood me or not.
Sound familiar? It's no surprise that men and women seem to communicate much differently, and we're not afraid to admit it.
We accept what he feels and he accepts what I feel, you know, and then we kind of work it out.
Like in an argument or something, he's gotten over it real quickly, and I'm still 3 days later, you know, thinking about that, you know, maybe something he said to me, and it takes me a lot longer to get over, you know, where he's just more like, oh, no big deal.
Women are more in touch, and I hire women because I think they're more compassionate than men.
He says this and she says that. The list goes on and on. Question is, why are we so different? Marriage and family therapist for the Path to Partnership, Karen Field, says the answer is simple.
We have different ways of processing information, so our brains are wired up differently, and so we speak differently, we listen differently, and so those are the two main components of communication, so it's always going to cause trouble.
Field says the basic fundamentals go back to the caveman days. Let's flash back to ancient times, when men were hunters trying to find food and women were gatherers, keeping an eye on the children while holding down the fort. Believe it or not, the roles have stuck with us to this day.
As hunters and gatherers, we were kind of designed to do different jobs. I think it's still in our DNA. We still have the same DNA that we had back in those days.
Okay, so we might not be hairy prehistoric beings or live in caves anymore, but we still hold on to what we were designed to do. And it's these characteristics that could cause miscommunication. Field explains we need to understand how the opposite sex thinks before we jump to conclusions.
I think the source of the problem is that we expect the other one unconsciously. We have the assumption that the other one is going to do it the way we do it. And so if you're a man and I'm assuming that you're going to react like a woman, I'm going to be upset, and vice versa.
There are, of course, several books on the differences between the opposite sexes. I read this one by Allison Armstrong called Making Sense of Men. Karen Field took several of Armstrong's workshops, and they both agree that despite their major differences, men and women can live together in harmony. Ladies, take for instance when a man is focused on something and you think he's ignoring you. Maybe he's really just checking his phone. The theory goes back to men being single-focused on the hunt.
And if he was a hunter and he was killing a deer, he would be focused on that deer. He wouldn't be paying attention to the pretty flowers or to the sunset, but that's not how women process information. You know, the gatherers are out in the field and they're paying attention to all the kids that are running around. So their attention is everywhere all the time. And the man's attention is focused on whatever it is that he's doing. And so he's not ignoring you, he's working on his phone. Because if he was ignoring you and working on his phone, that would be two things.
Field says the first step to a communication balance between men and women is thinking like a team.
Question that assumption, you know, and ask them, like, I'm sure you have a good reason for that. I just want to know what it is. You didn't know it. And so now that you do know it, now you have the possibility to do something different and to make life different for yourself and for the people in your life.
Of course, every situation is a case-by-case basis, and we may never truly see eye to eye when it comes to communicating with the opposite sex. But Kieran Field says at least trying to understand one another is the first step in the right direction. In the studio, I'm Melissa Smith, 7 and 4 News.
Coming up next in sports, suddenly I have this desire to go deer hunting. We're talking playoff high school football action in the Jimmy John Sports Corner. It's proof that I can multitask. You're watching 7 and 4 News at 6. The Petoskey Northman faithful will be packing their bags and headed to East Kentwood this weekend, saving just a little room in the car for the return trip north, just enough room for a state championship trophy, hopefully. The Northman boys soccer team advanced to the title game with that 3-1 win last night against Bloomfield Hills Cranbrook. Petoskey will tax in Hudsonville Unity Christian for the Division IV state crown Saturday at 3. Our two other Northern Michigan teams who made it to the semis last night saw their season end. Elk Rapids suffered a heartbreaking loss in an overtime shootout against Williamston by a 2-1 margin. Leland High School fell last night to Grand Rapids Covenant Christian 3-0. A handful of Northern Michigan high school football teams still have hopes of making their way to Ford Field in a title game. 7 and 4's Nick Voltura and the Record Eagles' Mike Eckert join us now in the Jimmy John Sports Corner.
Welcome to the Jimmy John Sports Corner. I'm here with Mike Eckert of the Traverse City Record Eagle. How you doing today, Mike?
Good. How you doing?
Good. We're here to talk some playoff high school football, and we have some teams that are going to be on the road and some teams who will be at home. So give me what you're looking at this week.
Yeah, you know, you start right with the teams on the road, and you have to start with TC Central. Right. They hosted last week for the first time in a long time. They won that game in double overtime. Now they got to take that on the road. They go to Midland on Friday. It's one of the best teams in the state. They have a lineman that's going to Notre Dame. This is going to be a tough test. Huge. But you know, if you're Central, you look at taking the momentum that you've had from that big win, carrying it into, you know, you've faced adversity this year. You try and duplicate that here in this one. Another big road game that we've got is Glen Lake going to Shelby. Okay. You know, Glen Lake had a big win against Boyne City this past week. They're going to look to keep that going. Shelby's a team that knocked off Kalkaska, so you know there's some local ties there. Look for Glen Lake to have a big game this week.
Excellent. And on the as far as the home teams are concerned,
yeah, we really have one home team. We've got two local teams playing each other, so we're guaranteed to get one through. So, Central Lake is going to Joburg this week. Okay. They played about a month ago. Joburg beat Central Lake. Central Lake hasn't lost since. You know that's sitting in the back of their mind. This should be a good one in Division 8.
Sounds like we have one heck of a weekend of high school playoff football ahead of us. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right, that's a look at sports. We'll be right back.
Well, you are looking live at our Hurricane Sandy relief phone bank, and we want to thank you for the effort you've put in today. We've collected about 20,000 bottles of water and close to $8,000 in donations.
$8,000 in the last hour and a half. Now, we did say we were going to run this through 6:30, but the phones have been ringing so much. We're going to keep our volunteer staff there answering your phone calls for the American Red Cross until the phones stop ringing. So if you've had trouble getting through, keep trying. We're going to take your calls until they stop.
Our hot shot is the moon over Portage Lake. Thanks, Carla Brown, for the hot shot. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for making 7 and 4 your choice for news.
We'll see you back here tonight at 11.